Namaste and welcome to Awakened Living with Nibodhi. Today's discussion is on love. And the specific aspect of love is how to live from the heart, because we're currently living in a world that's essentially built for our heads. And so, how do we live from the heart? How do we live a life that is centered around health and consciousness and how to experience life in its fullest? And what does it even mean when we live from the heart in a world that doesn't do that or doesn't do that mostly? So I would say let's begin by just in this moment, notice the place that you're listening to this podcast from, not physically, inside of you. Are you in your head analyzing and tracking and thinking already? Or are you feeling it in your body? Are you feeling my voice, my presence? Are you present with yourself? Are you feeling your own presence? Are you feeling connected to yourself? There's a very strong distinction between the head and the heart, and that's actually determines everything in life. Living from the heart means that we're really allowing awareness to guide us through life, through our truth, through our presence, through our connections. And we stop letting the media, the control, the fear, the constant analysis, the comparison control our lives. In Vedic philosophy, Vedic psychology, in Ayurveda, in yoga, all of this is illustrated as a unified field where real health and clarity and fulfillment are all working together as one thing. They're not abstract concepts. They're not new age woo-woo concepts. It's actual very practical. It's it determines how we breathe. It determines how we speak, how we eat, how we relate, how we make love, how we make decisions, how we show up to work, how we do our dishes. But the core problem that we face in the modern world is that the way that life is designed is to keep us in the head. And society is rewarding people for that. We get rewarded for if we do things quickly. We get rewarded for being logical. We get rewarded for our productivity and the comparison. And many people are taught that our value is based on what we produce and are we better than the other person and how quickly and how logically we can come to conclusions. It doesn't matter if it's in your grade school, if you're in third grade or fifth grade or social media or all these things. Our value is being placed on how much we produce and how fast we think and all these things and how good we look, how good your AI filters look, right? So that's the clear problem. The system that we live in is rewarding the head and not the heart, okay? And this creates a massive split in consciousness. The mind becomes dominant and the heart becomes repressed, suppressed, and then eventually depressed. And this leads to serious disconnection, first and foremost from ourself. And then that creates disconnection from others. It creates disconnection from life, from the universe. So the Vedic teachings tell us that this is a reflection of deeper confusion between the self and the mind, and we're confusing the self with the mind. And in that confusion, we end up living pretty much entirely from the mind. And we start analyzing instead of feeling, and we react instead of respond. And instead of trusting life, we try and control life. And we lose our connection. We lose the deep connection to ourself. In the Upanishads, which is one of the Vedic philosophy's predominant texts, it tells us that our true self is Atman. It is the pure, undifferentiated, steady, whole, constantly aware self that is free from reaction. It's the witness of the creation. It's the witness to all the changing phenomenon. And in that witness, there's knowledge. It's not knowledge book learning, it's knowledge of the self. Because the thinking mind in Vedic philosophy is called manas, and it processes the input that we receive and it responds or reacts to that. The buddhi is the higher level of intellect, which is able to discern the truth, which means real from not real. And that doesn't mean that something doesn't exist. It just means that it's not eternal. It's not permanent. That's the distinction between real and unreal. And the ahamkara is our identity, and it's also the ego. And we need to have an ego to function. We just identify who we are as the ego. It's basically the computer framework. It's the operating system. So when we are living from the mind, the head, the manas, the input processing system, and the ego dominate. And we're constantly in a state of reaction, of defense, of comparison. And in that, we don't feel safe. And so we seek to control life. And the buddhi, that the higher reasoning, the higher intellect, becomes clouded, and we lose our connection. We lose our access to that deep self-knowing. So when we are able to reconnect to our heart, the physical heart I'm not really talking about, it's the spiritual heart. When we're able to reconnect to that divine love, it restores that buddhi. And in Ayurveda and yoga, it says we need to align with sattva, that quality of clarity and harmony and truth. And so we really have to understand the mind to do that, though. Like, we use the mind to overcome the mind, right? And so the mind isn't just that one thing, as we're talking about. It's the manas is the reactive mind, which is the input and creates immediate reaction or response. The amkar is the ego, me, mine, and buddhi is the higher intellect. And it discerns that truth from distortion. We have to know all of that to be able to transcend that, because beyond all of that is ourself, is our pure awareness. And so we need to go from the head to the heart. And it's said that the longest journey a human can take is from the head to the heart, and it's only a few inches away, but it's the hardest journey we can take. So living from the heart restores connection. And the Ayurvedic, the yoga, the Vedic teaching on that is that the heart isn't just an emotional thing. It's the seat of our consciousness. What yoga calls the hridayam, the heart center, the spiritual heart. And that's really where awareness it blossoms from. The lotus represents this. It comes from the dark, murky, ignorant, stagnant pond, and then hits the sunlight, and it has illumination, and it creates this fragrance and this beauty in the world. And we see that lotus as representative of the spiritual heart of truth. And so likewise, the Vedic teaching tells us that our suffering comes from avidya, which is ignorance or misperception. And it's avidya of the truth, of who we actually are. We believe that we're the mind because that's what we were taught. They put us in ego training. We went to grade school and they told us that we had to be somebody. We had to be somebody special, and we had to be somebody successful. And if somebody was better at us, then we weren't worthy, right? So this suffering that we experience comes from this avidya, believing that we're the mind. We believe that our thoughts are real, and those thoughts define reality, and those thoughts define who we are. But all they do is create more fear and more attachment or more aversion, raga and vesha, and just leave us in a state of perpetual stress. So when we access the spiritual heart, all that dissolves. It brings us back to direct experience of ourself. And we learn again, we remember to remake whole. We remember how to feel instead of just thinking. We begin to trust our intuition, and instead of forcing conclusions based on that ignorance. and we learn how to respond instead of reacting. Because from a karmic perspective, we're bouncing off of something that we brought with us or that we've experienced before. Responsibility, the ability to respond, and that's from mindfulness. So when we talk about living from the heart, it's not about being emotional or soft. It's when we reconnect to ourselves and everything feels right. Life feels right. We're in that flow state. And even there's going to be moments when something feels off, but we are attuned to it and we make the proper decisions based on our intuition, based on the intelligence of the heart. But again, we lose that connection because of our misperceptions, and we lose that connection because we believe we're the thoughts and we trust all the mental chatter over direct experience. And that's really easy to do. Scrolling on the internet is a very direct representation of this. We scroll, and over and over and over again and see the image of this person and their perfectly curated lives, and we compare and we just layer trauma on top of ourselves. So modern life is trauma for the most part. It's constant stimulation, it's processed food, it's lack of sleep, it's emotional repression, suppression, comparison. All of these are creating physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual imbalances. And when we look at it from an Ayurvedic model, Ayurveda, the wisdom of life, the knowledge of life, describes health, swasthya, to be established in the self. And what does it mean to be established in the self? It means that we're balanced in our body, mind, and consciousness. And the gunas, the mental qualities are called the gunas. That's sattva, rajas, and tamas. That sattva quality, which is what yoga and Ayurveda tells us to cultivate, is the clarity, it's the harmony, it's the compassion that's natural to us. The rajas is activity, which we need rajas to do anything. But when it's out of balance, when we're scrolling constantly, it creates a restlessness. It creates an unsettledness. And then the tamas quality is the dull, heavy inertia, stuck in the mud state. And most people in the modern world are living in a mix of rajas and tamas. And I imagine that if you're listening to this podcast, you're more in the rajasic sattvic state, because somehow you got to this podcast, and that means the consciousness is looking towards beauty, towards love, towards awakening. But everything in modern life is amplifying the rajas and tamas. And so we need to really step away from that. We need to do internet fasts. We need to do social media fasts to cultivate the clarity, the presence, the connection, the compassion. The most compassionate thing we can do for ourselves is not scroll on the internet, because it is the most addicting substance on the planet, or the most addicting activity. And from there, we can reestablish with our own clarity. We can get a presence of mind that's not reflecting someone else's story. Okay. And then we need to look at the heart deeper, because yes, there's the spiritual heart, but there's also a biological heart. It makes everything happen. Without the heart, blood doesn't go, we're not really going to be here. And the spiritual and biological heart really do work together in a major way. But the shift in going between the spiritual heart and the physical heart, there's physiological effects in that, because the heart and the brain, they're the seats of prana, of life, and they communicate via our nervous system through prana, tejas, and ojas, what modern science is now calling our psycho-neuroendocrine immunological system. And we've known this for thousands of years. Now they're just proving it all. But when we live in a stress state, when we live in a state of constant overthinking, the body stays in the sympathetic activated state. That's the stress state. That's fight, freeze, fawn, or flight. And in that, our cortisol goes up a lot. Our digestion, the Agni, the digestive fire, gets disrupted, and it leads to toxins building up in the body physically, mentally, and emotionally, and inflammation, is everywhere in the body, and there's chronic inflammation in the modern world. When we drop into the heart, when we drop into the spiritual heart and the breath, the prana, the parasympathetic nervous system activates. And that's a state of homeostasis. That's a state of rest and digest. Our breath becomes soft. It deepens. We're connected to the breath. Our heart rate stabilizes. The Agni, the digestive fire, stabilizes. And the body goes into that rest and digest and repair mode. So living from the head, constantly thinking, constantly stressed, fight or flight. The body will break down over time. When we shift into the heart, the whole game changes. The nervous system changes, the breath, everything. And so Agni is the seat of health because it is digesting our food and it digests our life experience. And through good Agni, we build Ojas. Ojas is our vital essence. It's our resilience. It's our immunity. And we also have a mental, emotional, spiritual Ojas as well, not just the physical Ojas, which is basically supporting our emotional stability. It supports our emotional and mental resilience, and it's what gives that sense of connection. It's the juice of life, the rasa, the flavor, the passion that brings everything together. So when we live from the heart, it not only protects the Ojas, but it builds the Ojas. And that's really important. Like when we live from the head, relationships are transactional. And we calculate these outcomes to protect ourselves. We filter our natural expression. That creates more tension and distance. That depletes the Ojas. And that depletes our longevity, our vitality, our immunity. But when we live from the heart, all the relationships become authentic relationships, including with ourselves, with the trees, with the plants, with the birds outside, with your coworkers, with your family. They become real, like a real authentic relationship. So it's really, really important, because otherwise, if we're in a relationship that's not authentic and it's from the head, it's mostly a strategic relationship, right? It's a transactional relationship where we are going to filter what we say, and we do our actions from a projected, calculated outcome. And we're doing things to protect ourselves instead of being open. And that doesn't create unity, that creates distance. So we need to live from the heart. We need authentic relationships. We need connection. We need to speak from truth, Satya in yoga. We need to be able to listen in order to have a real relationship. We need to take responsibility for our own experience and stay present when a relationship is truthful but maybe uncomfortable. We need to learn how to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. And that's honoring ourselves. That's compassion to ourselves. And we allow others to be how they are. That's when we really have a relationship. That creates trust. We're not trying to change anyone. We just want to change ourselves so we can be the best version of ourselves possible. In Ayurveda, in yoga, in Vedic thought, there is a concept of purusharthas. There's 4 goals of life: Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. And we have a whole podcast on that earlier in the podcast. So if you want to know all about the purusharthas and the 4 goals of life, you can do that. But Dharma is our purpose and our inner knowing. And our main Dharma is to know ourselves. And so we need to know ourselves as part of a whole. And in order to be part of the whole, we need to know which actions to take. Like a cell in the body needs to know how to function in harmony with the other millions, billions, trillions of cells. Otherwise, that cell goes rogue and becomes cancer. And it's the same thing in our life. If we don't know how to function in harmony with ourselves and our environment, we go rogue, and that's why there's so much cancer. Okay, so aligning with truth, and everybody knows what the truth is, and we know when we're aligned with it, and we know when something's not right. We know when something's not aligned. But in order to actually hear that and feel that and make that real in our life, we need space. We need stillness. We need quiet time. We need the permission from ourselves to return to our heart. And that's why sadhana is so important. That's why our spiritual practice, our daily routine is absolutely essential. And I recommend starting the day with that, because in that we are training our whole system, physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual system, to come out of that constant striving for something in the future, that constant mental activity that if I only do this, then my future will be okay. There's no such thing as the future. The universe doesn't work that way. The universe created the present moment. The future will never happen. Okay. But we need to realize that, and we need to experience that, and it requires practice. We have to train the system. So I recommend having a breathwork practice, a pranayama practice, because pranayama calms the mind and it regulates the nervous system. Having a meditation practice to go within the self, to shut off everything outside, because it essentially puts us into a state of awareness where we stop identifying who we are as our thoughts. We need a mantra practice. I like mantra. You don't have to have a mantra practice, but I love mantra. Manastratika, to bring the mind into one-pointed focused awareness. It stabilizes our attention and really helps us to refine our perception into one-pointed awareness. We have to have time in nature. That restores our balance and our connection. Quiet time in nature. And we need organic, sattvic, in-season, locally grown whole foods to support our body's cellular intelligence, our clarity, and our energy. And if we really want to live in the heart, we really want to have consistent access to our physical, spiritual heart, these things aren't an option. These are not optional. These are the tools that will allow us to do exactly that. Without these, the pull of the mind, the pull of the head, the pull of the social internet, the pull of the quick dopamine dependent culture is so strong. Very few people can resist that. So we need a practice. So to do that, we need to have emotional honesty with ourselves, to be honest with where we are and where we're not. And that doesn't mean we get overwhelmed by our emotion. It means we allow whatever emotions to flow without suppressing them. And the Vedic path does not recommend suppressing our emotions. It teaches us to witness them also. Just like we witness the thoughts, we witness the emotions. And a lot of the emotions come from repetitive thoughts that we believed were real. But in that, we can feel anger without becoming it or acting out, right? My main go-to throughout a lot of my life was anger. And it doesn't mean that I don't get angry anymore. Of course I do, especially when there's social injustice, when humans aren't treating each other with kindness. But I'm aware of it, and I don't act it out, and I breathe it, and I process it through my body, and I let it go. I don't hold it in my body. And same thing with grief. If I've had so much loss in my life, and that translates to grief. I did a whole podcast recently on grief, and you can check that out. But we can feel the grief without collapsing into it and without shutting down. And in the same line of thinking, we can feel joy and happiness, but even clinging to that, if our joy and happiness is from a thing, and it's nothing wrong with having joy and happiness from the external world, but if we cling to that as the ultimate source of our joy and happiness, eventually we're going to suffer. Our joy and happiness comes because we're allowing ourselves to feel joy and happy in response to something else. When we can get into that state of awareness, into that state of a witness, that's where freedom comes. That's our internal awareness in action. Yoga tells us that in order to do that, we need to have this quality of Satya and Tapasya. The Satya means the truth. It means that living from the heart requires us to be in truth with who we are, with our speech, with our actions. It doesn't mean just speaking the truth. no matter what, because if the truth is hurtful to someone, that's violence. And yoga recommends ahimsa. So we want to speak the truth in the sense that it serves someone. There's an acronym called THINK, THINK. Is it thoughtful? Is it helpful? Is it insightful? Is it necessary? And is it kind? So speak the truth, but think before you speak the truth. And speaking the truth is also speaking our own truth. And I've talked about this before in previous podcasts, but we stop saying yes when we mean no. And if we're uncomfortable, making a social image of being comfortable is a lie. We stop hiding our discomfort to maintain that image. And we definitely need to stop shaping ourselves to fit expectations. Stop using filters. Be your raw, unfiltered self if you're going to be a content creator. Okay? Because if your internal world and your external world aren't aligned, you're going to have internal conflict. And you're going to feel it. And it's going to create dis-ease in your body. Yoga tells us about this concept called Tapasya, which is our disciplined effort. It doesn't mean doing rigorous, severe austerities. It just means you're doing disciplined effort. You're focused on your goal and you're going for it. It means you're committed to what's true for you. And it also means being committed even when it feels uncomfortable, because it's going to feel uncomfortable at first. And again, feeling able to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. The breath is necessary. And when it is too uncomfortable, or when it's uncomfortable and we're not able to manage it, that's when people go back to their head. They go back to thinking. They look to the head for safety, and it disrupts the pattern of conscious living. So we need these two concepts. We need to be able to be truthful to ourselves and be disciplined in going for what we want, which is authentic living. And when we do that, our life shifts, our relationship shift, our work shifts, our identity shifts, and friends may fall away, or people who we thought were our friends, because we're growing and they may not. And that's not really a problem. It's actually like the universe course correcting. It's just part of the alignment. When I started first doing yoga and meditation and consciousness, pretty much all except for two of my friends fell away. And interestingly, those two people 35 years later are still my close friends. Yeah. And just also how each person does this practice, how each person works is unique. Just like in Ayurveda, the dosha is unique. There's 8 billion of us on the planet. There's not one way for everyone to go back into heart coherence. You know, the mental qualities of the different doshas, like a vata is usually out of balance with anxiety and disconnection, where the pitta is trying to control things and they're angry and frustrated, and a kapha is stagnant and withdrawal and gets depressed. We need to balance the doshas physically as well, not just the mental gunas, the physical qualities of the 5 elements in the 3 doshas. These come into balance when we start returning to our heart. We feel the vata feels grounded, the pitta feels clear, the kapha feels open and energized. So on the deepest level of all of this, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, the Vedas, these Vedic paths, give us the clear way how we can actually experience unity. Because again, the separation comes only in the mind. The heart is the connection. It's the needle and thread that sews everything together. And the mind is the scissors that cuts it all up. So we want to live from the heart. We want to feel connected. We want to get rid of the fear. We want to get rid of the sense of separation, because it's only a sense of separation. There's no real separation. And when we can do that, when we can get rid of that fear, we become connected again. When we're connected, fear loses its grip naturally. We begin to really experience our connection to others. We really experience our connection to nature, and something even way beyond our own individuality. So let the head become a tool and let the heart be the guide. Use the intellect to execute action, but not dominate our lives. Okay. And it's not about rejecting the mind. The mind is an excellent tool, but it's just the tool. The heart is the guide. The heart is the navigation system, the GPS, the God protection service. And when the mind is leading, the God protection service gets overridden. So let the heart be in charge. Let the heart be in charge. It's that simple. Let love lead. Let love rule. Live in love now. And when we do that, the mind is there to support it and we have clarity, alignment, purpose. All right. So just how to do that, like just start today, make a decision, pause, and make a decision that you want to live from the heart. You can bring your attention at any point into your heart, into your chest, and take slow, long, deep breaths in and out of your chest. Put your hands on your heart. Put one hand over the other on the heart and just feel and breathe. Put your hands on your heart, breathe into your chest and feel. And notice what happens in the body. It's such a simple practice. There's most likely going to be an expansion. If you feel expanded, that means you're getting aligned. If something's contracting in you, that means something's off. So it just requires practice. We just need to practice. That's it. Practice makes perfect. Although we're already on one level, there's a perfection. We're perfectly imperfect all the time. But with practice, we actually become very precise. And over time, this is a way of living that creates more coherence. Our thoughts, words, actions all align. Our body feels safe. Our relationships are coherent and deepen, and our purpose is clear. This is what it means to live from the heart in a world that's built for the head. And don't reject the world. The world is necessary. We can't meet, we can't play, we can't do this dance of divinity without the world. We just start moving through it differently. We dance differently. We bring a different presence into it. We can hear through the static, and the whole system becomes connected. That shift in consciousness, that shift in awareness from the head to the heart changes your health, your relationships, and your impact in the world. And it starts with one decision, and that's to stop or slow down, breathe, feel, and go from truth, live from truth. So living from the heart, it's not a concept. It's a reality. It's a way of being. It's the only way of actually being. We're human beings, not human doings. The way of a human being is love. And love shapes our health and our purpose and life. And without love, what is the purpose? We don't need to leave the world to do this. We don't need to wait until we take our last breath. It's not going to happen in some heavenly realm. If we don't do it now, it's not going to happen just because the body has been reduced to ashes. What we do now is what happens then, because there's only now. So live in this world with love, with coherence, from the heart. We move through the same world just a little differently, with presence, with truth, with connection to ourself, with connection to life. Okay? This is where everything begins. So thank you for listening. Thank you for joining me today. If this resonated with you, share this episode with someone who you think may need it. Stay connected for more episodes on awakened living and consciousness. If you're not already, please subscribe, like, leave a comment, and fill your hearts with love and express it in everything you do. Before you go, if you've been curious about Ayurveda and want to actually understand your body and start applying it into your daily life, I built the complete Ayurveda course for exactly that. It contains more than 30 years of education and practice distilled into 50 lessons, with over 10 hours of content, guided meditations, personalized assessments, and so much more. It's designed so you'll feel real shifts as you go through it. You'll experience more energy, better digestion, increased mental clarity, and a deeper sense of balance. Lesson by lesson, it's all there. So go to nibodhi.com/courses to learn more.